So I've got you. You're doing cut and paste. You're doing like original cut and paste fanzines, aren't you?
Yeah, we are. Yeah.
That's what I started with cut and paste instead. But cut and paste with a typewriter where I cut out with a scalpel bits of like paper and drawings out of magazines and photographs. Either was doing the music ones. I used to also do like some of the Redcar Council, which we did. It's called Blab. It was just a sheet of paper, just talking about different arts events that they put on in where was Zine bar then those days. I got my friends to typeset it because they're £10,000 computer system, which took up the whole office like. It was just a typewriter, but the whole thing with the printer was massive. In fact, I had a printer, my printer cost £1,000, and I replaced it about 5 years ago with another one which cost £1,000, and now my printer costs £100. So it's ridiculous. I gave it away to school, but you know how much technology's come down and stuff like that. So yeah, used to do everything cut and paste until you just cut my fingers too many times. And if you had work experience, then you couldn't let them use the knife. And then also the big thing was the spray mount. Do you use spray mount?
Yeah, I use spray mount. Yeah. Turns your life into a giant post-it note.
God, yeah, he used to worry what he was doing to you. He used to spray. He used to have like a box with something over the top of it and try not to have your head anywhere near it. I used to spray him out for years, and it's just used to. Because people were so late in handing stuff in, every issue would do, which is every 2 weeks of the football fanzine, would be done on a Wednesday night up until, well, the printer started printing at 6 o'clock in the morning, so our idea was to try and get it finished before 6 o'clock in the morning. Hand some in, go to bed for 3 hours, or 4 hours if we're lucky, get up and do the cover, which is the most important thing, is the cover, and do that and print it, until after about 5 years when the printer said that really, said maybe he should have mentioned this to us before, but really it would be better if we did the cover first and the inside, because it needs colour and it needs to be dried. But that was the only bit of the fanzine that wasn't like cut and paste by hand. And then eventually did it on computer where it's cut and paste, where it isn't cut and paste. Got rid of the knife because it got sticker getting cut. Went back to using Pritt stick because it got stickers. Breathing in spray them out and thinking it's probably not very good for you, and but always tried, even in the fancy now, always try and make it look like it's being cut up and done like a proper fanzine, and besides it's a lot cheaper than doing it in colour. But I think it's got to be a fanzine. It's not, if it's all full colour and it's trying to be posh, then what's the point of calling it a fanzine? It's a magazine. Well, that's the other definition of fanzine is, isn't it? It's done by fans. It's not done by journalists. It's done by fans of whatever. It's a fans magazine. It's by fans, for fans. And when we used to put on the front, was it for the fans, by the fans, or by the fans, for? It won. If that motto was one of the main reasons why it got voted fanzine of the year. It was the only year when they allowed. There was 2 years they had this competition by Emap magazine. Went down to London, and it was only 1 year where they allowed sports fanzines in it, and we won, and they were really into that motto, and they did that in all the publicity, and now it's every bloody where. Everyone just ripped that off completely. Every bloody thing is by the fans, for the fans, it's everywhere. But won an award, won about £1,000, and it won like £1,000 worth of shop software. It's ridiculous. A week before they said that I couldn't take any guests. I said, all right, I'll just go on my own. And then the day before, they must have realised I'd won. Said, "Oh, you're taking anyone?" So, well, he said I couldn't. Oh, well, you can take someone. You can take some people. Oh, it's a bit late now. And I went there, and every single other fanzine there had like about 20 people, and like they all felt sorry for me. They gave me like this big magnum of champagne, and I was on my own, so I just had to drink it myself. It was ridiculous that, but there was a lot of fanzines there that were like punk things, and there was Karen magazine came second. If anyone's seen that, it's brilliant. And even though it's called Karen magazine, she didn't know why it was in the fanzine thing. It is totally a fanzine. It's about all. If Karen came in this room now, she would do a piece about that table, not the people. She would do, but all about the stuff on that table. Then she might do an article about David's shoes, Or she might give Alison like a diary and ask her to write down all the breakfasts she has for the next 3 weeks. And it used to be on sale at that shop that we used to be near Emap. She wasn't from around here, but she came second to me. But I gave her some of my champagne, so she was not about it. But that was like a modern interpretation of a fanzine, and every page was a different sort of material as well, which I quite like. Different sorts of papers, different ideas like that. But yeah, it's good to see people doing like cut and paste again. Yeah, I'd do it, but it would just take me too long.
Rob, if you had the chance to like do that Sunderland fanzine does, a Love Supreme, and like go totally glossy and turn it into like a magazine, would you just reject that then, would you? If you had the resources to do it, would you just carry on doing like a black and white one, and
Yeah, I only put a colour cover on it. We only put it on issue 400. We did it as a special thing for issue 400, and then realised we couldn't go back. Oh shit, I've got to do colour cover now. So it took a long time. That was only about, when was that? About 2006, something like that. No, definitely wouldn't, because I don't see the point. It's just a poor copy of a magazine, isn't it? Surely. There's one called The Mag in Newcastle as well, which is a magazine, I think. It just looks like a boring magazine to me. It's got to be like true to the sort of ethics of a fanzine. It's got to look like a fanzine, and it's got to be like normal people writing. So I don't like when it happens from time to time. People like journalists say, "Oh, I'd like to write for your thing." I hope I don't. That's not what it's about, really. What it says fanzine. So, but anyway, it's brilliant that this is going on, and that lots of people are doing. It's a really good thing, a creative sort of thing that you can do with one person, 10 people, 100 people about any subject, and it's immediate, isn't it? You get the sort of snapshot about stuff. And you had your thing, Estelle. I've written a song about Estelle now.
Yes.
Finished it. And it can go in lots of different directions like that. You've got a fanzine and it can go into an exhibition, and it can go into like a song, and it can go into a film, can't it? Play, whatever. So it's a really good medium, and it's good to see it getting revived. And it's just tricky selling it, like anything.
But would you still keep doing them even if it wasn't making any money ever?
Yeah. Well, it doesn't.
There you go then.
I suppose it's out of habit now. I wanted to pack in at the end of last season actually, because I've done it for so long. But I think I'm going to do it again. It's just doing 23 in less than a year is quite tricky. Well, 23 from August to May. It's quite hard to do really, because sometimes you have to do 2 in a week. I'm getting a bit old, working every night. So, but yeah, I'd still do them because I do. It doesn't make much money, but just I think it's really, I'm quite proud of the tradition. As I say, that they went into football in the late 80s, and there's not that many left that have continued from there. But there's a few fanatics around the country who have just done absolutely thousands of the things. There's a fellow in Stoke. It's really, we were the first fanzine to reach 100 issues, 150, 200, and we'd like do a special issue each time. Sometimes we'd make it twice the size and stuff like that. It wasn't like a big deal really, but this fellow, I read a website of this book in Stoke, and he announced how he was going to be the first fanzine to 300 issues, and it was a really big thing for his life, you could see, and because he just wrote pages and pages about how he worked it out. It worked out every game. It was him versus us, and how he was going to like pass us. And I thought that's fantastic. I'll pretend that I'm doing them for reserve matches and see what he does. And he started to get a real sweat on. It was really worried. But yeah, he did it first, and so he was just a total nutter. So yeah, I'd still do it. I think everyone else should. It's really good.